Do you like coffee? Do you like Coca-Cola? If so, you might be interested in a new concoction, Coca-Cola Plus Coffee. Welcome to Plain English, the podcast that lets you, the English learner, explore the world in your new language. I'm Jeff. JR is the producer, and you're listening to episode 151. You can find an interactive, multilingual transcript of this episode online at plainenglish.com/151. Coming up on today's program, Coca-Cola is gearing up to introduce a new flavor in 25 countries, Coca-Cola Plus Coffee. It's been tested in Australia and Japan, and the reviews there are, well, it tastes just like it sounds, Coke plus coffee. Later in the episode, we'll talk about the English expression bread and butter, and of course, it's Thursday, so we'll have JR's Song of the Week. Before we start, I wanted to thank our partner, Você. Você has a great online pronunciation course that can help you build your confidence, reduce your accent, and improve your speaking skills. You can check that out at plainenglish.com/learn. If you live in Australia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, or Japan, or if you've visited one of those countries lately, then you might already know what the next flavor of Coke tastes like. But for the rest of us, we'll have to wait to see just exactly how Coca-Cola Plus Coffee is going to taste. That's right, the Atlanta-based beverage giant announced a coffee-infused version of its classic product would be available in 25 countries soon, by the end of this year. It's being marketed as an afternoon pick-me-up, the perfect thing you need for that slump that comes around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you need a little something to keep your energy levels up. The move comes as Coca-Cola is experimenting with new flavors and trying to find growth as consumer tastes shift away from high-calorie, sugary drinks toward healthier options, bottled water, energy drinks, and ready-to-drink coffee. Coca-Cola Plus Coffee will be flavored with coffee extract. The company says that it will have more caffeine but less sugar than a regular Coke, and it will probably come in a smaller bottle than a typical 12-ounce can. I wanted to get a sense of exactly what would this taste like, so I did some research online. I found some blogs that reviewed the taste. They were mostly Americans who had traveled abroad and had come across the new Coke flavor during their travels. Here's what I can gather. Coca-Cola Plus Coffee is going to taste a lot sweeter than regular Coke. The review I especially like is from a blogger named Benji, and he runs a website called The Coffee Concierge. In his video review, which is really good, he says it tastes like Coke up front, like right when you start to taste it. Then, a few seconds later, you get the flavor of coffee. And then the last flavor you taste is brown sugar. He said it's like taking a sip of Coke followed immediately by a sip of cold brew coffee. That sounds pretty good. The only bad news, according to Benji, is the aroma. Now, I love the smell of coffee. I almost like the smell better than the taste. I said almost. But I don't really think Coke smells much of anything. And Benji says that Coca-Cola Plus Coffee smells like fertilizer. Not really appealing. But we're not here for the smell, are we? Most people are going to drink it for the taste, the sensation, and possibly for the caffeine. I read a blog in Japanese, actually the Google translated version, which can be dangerous, but the writer for Shin Shohin blog suggested, rather humorously, that you might not want to drink Coca-Cola Plus Coffee for the taste, but rather to give you the energy you need to power through that mountain of work you have. Now, that's not exactly how Coca-Cola would phrase it, but I think it is pretty close to the purpose of the product. I mentioned earlier that consumer tastes and preferences are shifting away from the full-calorie soft drinks that have been Coca-Cola's and Pepsi's bread and butter for so many years. Many local governments are getting into the game too. They're worried about the health consequences of people getting so many liquid calories. So the UK, Mexico, South Africa, and some cities in the US either have or are contemplating an additional tax on high sugar beverages. New York City even limits how big a cup you can sell a sugary drink in. So Coca-Cola, like other big beverage companies, is trying to diversify. If you've traveled in the UK, then you are probably familiar with the chain Costa Coffee. Coca-Cola bought Costa Coffee recently and will probably be looking to integrate Coke products into Costa and put Costa products onto grocery store and convenience store shelves. In addition to coffee, Coca-Cola is giving its local subsidiaries around the world wide latitude in creating new flavors. Coke is a conservative, older company, so they have traditionally been very protective of their brand, and they've been slow to bring out new flavors. But not anymore. Not now that their traditional products aren't growing as quickly as before. Now, they want the different regions of their company to experiment with new flavors and textures in hopes of finding a new big worldwide hit. If you take all the individual regions of Coca-Cola and put them together, they released 500 new flavors around the world in a single year. In Russia, they released a cucumber-flavored Sprite. In China, they came out with a sesame and walnut flavor. They experimented with vanilla, orange, ginger, and green tea flavored soft drinks too. Here's the one I really want to try. Maza Chunky. That's a chunky mango flavored drink that they released in India. For now, though, they are relatively protective of their main Coca-Cola brand, so a new flavor of its Coca-Cola product is pretty rare. They released Orange Vanilla Coke earlier this year, which was the first new flavor of its main product in 10 years. Coca-Cola Plus Coffee is already available in Australia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and Japan, and will be released in a total of 25 countries by the end of this year. I think I would try the cucumber-flavored Sprite. That one sounds good. My fizzy drink of choice these days is Coke Zero Sugar. When I was a kid, I was allowed to have just one soda a day, and it was usually the regular version of Coke in the red can. These days, I don't drink a whole lot of soda, but when I do, I usually get Coke Zero Sugar. I think it's about 75% the flavor of regular Coke and 25% the flavor of Diet Coke, which is not bad for something with no calories. I don't think I would be a regular user of Coke with coffee, though. I think I want to keep those flavors separate. I got a funny note from Chris in the city of Ulm, Germany. He enjoyed listening to the phrase recipe for disaster, but he quickly pointed out that listening to plain English is a recipe for success. I couldn't agree more, and an easy recipe to follow at that. Part of Chris's recipe is to pick out 10 words from the episode to look up and remember, which I think is a great idea. It's a great number. Not too many words, not too few. 10 is just right. So I recommended the app Quizlet to him. Quizlet is a popular flashcard app that you can use to make your own flashcards if you're looking for a new study resource. I hear from so many listeners who struggle with their speech. They can read and even understand spoken English, but when it comes to speaking, they just freeze. Practice with pronunciation is so important to knowing how to speak. That's why I love the Mosalingua pronunciation course, which you can find at plainenglish.com/learn, Learn. In the course, they tell you exactly what's holding you back, and they give you concrete strategies to improve your pronunciation, to drop that accent and sound like a native. When you start speaking better, you have more confidence. And the best thing is, this course on English pronunciation is available in your own language. So check out Mosalingua pronunciation course at plainenglish.com/learn. Your recipe for success. That's what we are here at Plain English, and it fits with today's episode. The main topic was about a new recipe for Coca-Cola, and the expression is a food-related expression too, bread and butter. A company's bread and butter is what they traditionally make most of their money from. Just a few minutes ago, you heard that Coca-Cola's bread and butter has been traditional soft drinks. Coke in a red can, Diet Coke in a silver can. That has been their bread and butter. That has been what makes them the most money. But, traditional soda is not growing in popularity. People are starting to switch to energy drinks, pre-packaged coffee drinks, bottled water, even these lightly flavored soda water drinks that I see everywhere. Coca-Cola doesn't want to miss out on the newest trends, So they're investing in those other types of drinks and even experimenting with creating new categories like chunky mango drinks. But they can't forget that their bread and butter today, the thing that makes them the most money, is still their traditional soft drinks. Let's take another example. Microsoft. What is Microsoft's bread and butter? Windows, Microsoft Office, operating systems and productivity installed on PCs. That's their bread and butter. That's where they make the most money, or where they have traditionally. They're trying to diversify out of that because they know that the market probably won't last forever. They bought LinkedIn, they bought Skype, they have their own search engine. They are now in the hardware game with Surface tablets, video games, and now some artificial intelligence. They completely missed the boat on mobile, so they don't want to miss the next big thing. But still, their bread and butter, what makes them the most money right now, is Windows and Microsoft Office. Let's try a couple others. Google, their bread and butter is search. They might do a lot of things, but their bread and butter is still search. If you are listening from Germany, you know that Commerzbank was in the news a lot. Their bread and butter is lending to other businesses. McDonald's, their bread and butter is burgers and fries. They may have salads on the menu. They do some coffee, but their bread and butter is burgers and fries. It's what brings people in, and it's how they make their money. The song of the week is selected by JR, and this week it's Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. This song was nominated by Pablo in Brazil. He suggested it because it has a lot of good expressions and new words in it, and I agree with that approach. You don't want to listen to a song to learn how people talk, but there are some good words in there. Summertime's in Bloom, that's one I'm still waiting for. It's snowing outside as I record this, actually. Once more, Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. Thanks to Pablo in Brazil for sending that nomination. If you'd like to nominate a song, send an email to jr@plainenglish.com. Hey, if you've enjoyed the program today, you'll love getting additional learning resources by email. Thousands of your fellow listeners from around the world are engaging with English via the emails. So why aren't you? To sign up, just go to plainenglish.com/mail, M-A-I-L. You'll get an email every time a new episode comes out, and that message will have links to English articles about the main topic and an explanation of a new word or phrase that you heard on the show. I also send out a weekend email with links to articles that are about previous topics that we've covered here on Plain English. It's a great way to read my hand-picked selection of English articles, which I think you'll enjoy the most. Once again, that's plainenglish.com/mail. Remember to tune in again on Monday for episode number 152.